Decorah, Iowa. Population 8,000, plus some world-famous bald eagles. This picturesque corner of Iowa is where one man's relentless promotion of raptors met a perfect match. Bob Anderson spent years developing research among a pair of bald eagles in Decorah, Iowa. From documentaries to the worldwide web stream of an eagle nest, Bob's work opened hearts and minds to the comeback of an American symbol. But few escape nature's wrath, including the Eagles of Decorah.
Nest collapsing is bald eagle biology. All bald eagle nests eventually collapse. They add about 200 pounds of sticks to their nest every single year. So after 10 years, that's a ton of nesting material. And in this case, it's a cottonwood tree where the limbs are known to be pretty fragile. So that nest could come down tomorrow. It could come down in 5 years. There's no way for us to call the shots on that. And that the reason why they came to that tree where they're at, their old nest collapsed. Well, I don't know if it's a danger, but it's a perpetual worry in Bob's brain. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's constantly going through my mind, you know, what happens when the computer goes down or what happens if the nest collapses. You know, it's really out of our control, and I have to tell myself that, but I stew about it, and I do worry about it.
Bob Anderson's concerns met reality in the summer of 2015. A microburst of high-speed wind surged through Decorah, Iowa. A massive section of cottonwood trees snapped. The nest, watched by thousands online, tumbled to the Iowa soil. The nearly decade-long experiment to showcase Decorah's eagles was seemingly over. But Bob's band of helpers hatched an experimental plan to resurrect the nest. Within days of the collapse, Bob approved the plan, but then fell ill. He would die only days later, leaving his dream in doubt. His life's work and the efforts of dozens more would mark the beginning of a new chapter for the Eagles of Decorah. Funding for the Eagles of Decorah is provided by Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation, and by the Gilchrist Foundation, founded by Jocelyn Gilchrist, furthering the philanthropic interest of the Gilchrist family in wildlife and conservation, medical care, the arts and public broadcasting, and disaster relief.
So this area is very prominent. It's also, a pretty large rock, and it's in the just immediate proximity of all the historic cliffs where the peregrine nested, both in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and in Iowa. And then also, because it's so wooded, I don't think we'll have predation by great horned owls. This does not appear to be great horned owl habitat. So for that reason, it just appears to be a safer place to launch off some birds and get them to survive. We have a really wonderful scientific opportunity here. We're starting with ground zero. We're creating a population from ground zero. It's a wonderful, unparalleled scientific opportunity.
Bob Anderson spent much of his career nurturing raptors, like the peregrine falcon in the 1990s. He spent decades slowly building towards the goal of reintroducing the falcons to the cliffs of the upper Mississippi River.
Well, I want to know if anything happens to a bird. I want to know if we're going to have any predation on the birds, if any were killed by a great horned owl, or if any were killed by a mink. If we could just monitor them for the first, maybe 72 hours once they're released, that's the critical time. Well, this is kind of the culmination of about 20 years of dreaming. A lot of help from a lot of people and friends. We finally have falcons that are going to be released on a cliff on the Mississippi River and try to create a true wild population. It's the final goal, and it's a needed goal and a necessary goal in peregrine recovery.
His work was a resounding ecological success story. By 2005, Anderson and wildlife cinematographer Neil Rettig had turned their collective attention to the comeback of the American bald eagle. They zeroed in on a nest near the Iowa DNR fish hatchery in Decorah, Iowa.
They actually will take roadkills. And one day I saw an eagle near Decorah come down and take what I thought was a woodchuck or something off the road, and I thought, wow, if we can document that, that'd really be cool. These guys do it on a regular basis. We've seen them take rabbits off the road and squirrels and actually fly up to the nest carrying a rabbit that might weigh 3.5 pounds. It's unbelievable. The unique thing about this nest is that it's right across from a state fish hatchery. All the fish hatchery guys, they laugh about it and they think it's kind of cool that they see them go down and take the trout once in a while. This particular location is awesome because these birds are totally used to people on lawnmowers, barking dogs, and I can sit here without being in a blind, standing right here, and the eagles would behave totally normally. At first when I looked at this female, I thought there was something kind of funny about her head. But then I noticed when I got this long lens on that she was missing an eye. And to me, that makes it even more remarkable that she is so successful at hunting and taking fish. Because a raptor has to have depth perception. And without two eyes, it's just staggering that she can be as successful as she is. Sometimes I don't even know how I can do this because I've sat in blinds for as long as 14, 15, 16 hours. Sometimes I've slept overnight in blinds. And with animals like eagles, it can be boring. For example, the female here has just been sitting for 6 hours, hasn't done anything. So that's the toughest thing. If you don't have patience, you might as well forget it. It's not going to work.
Rettig would film segments of the PBS Nature program from his perch near the hatchery. Together with Bob, they built a Nest camera to document the eagle family. The next year, the camera became a live feed destined for global stardom.
Last year we had 78,000 unique computers logging on from 130 countries, and I thought that was incredible. This year, my webmaster, Amy Reese, was able to send a 24/7 feed to Ustream. It's almost like watching live TV, and it's gone viral. I'm really hoping that we've got the sites from every country on the planet. That's my hope, is every country on planet Earth is logged on. But it is, right now, with over 100 million total views, it's the most watched video stream on the internet.
People talk about how technology separates us. But if you look at this, technology and the Eagles really brought everybody together. So there's also kind of that feeling of cohesiveness and community among people who watch it. And that's also important to them. It is one of the reasons why you get sort of super fans.
It's probably been the best wildlife education tool that I could have ever imagined. I mean, people don't understand what the cruelty of nature and the wonder of nature, the fact that a few weeks ago we had 7 inches of just slushy snow, and both the adult male and the adult female came in and were sheltering the babies, and it was powerful, powerful. So this is really I think it's really educating a lot of people about really what's going on in the circle of nature when it comes to wildlife, in all aspects of wildlife. It's a huge, huge learning tool, and that's really good. It really is.
And then this one switches to infrared at night, IR, which is night before last, they were coming and going all night long. So contrary to what people didn't know, the bald eagles are nocturnal. So nobody knew that before. It's never been published.
We've learned that the eagles are often flying and coming and going in the middle of the night. And that's an unknown. I mean, even though we thought that everything was learned about the bald eagles, so to learn something new and plow new ground, it's really kind of exciting. We learned that the males will sometimes even bring food in the middle of the night. And then by being able to zoom in sometimes, we've actually seen that, the egg hatching and just how it's breaking up, just in nature in its rawest, purest form. And really that's the driving force of the Raptor Resource Project, to be an educational tool. And this is a science curriculum in many schoolrooms throughout the world.
So, and we also had a raccoon in the nest night before last. Too.
In the nest?
In the nest, yeah.
I get calls sometimes from people in nursing homes that they just can't wait to get out of bed in the morning and go to the community room so they can log on to their Eagles. And I even got an email from a woman that said, my husband and I quit talking for 10 years. We don't talk at all, but whenever we boot up the computer and look at the Eagle Cam, we talk like we're newlyweds. This Eagle Cam touches many people in many different ways, besides being a wonderful, wonderful environmental education tool.
I know that people sometimes turn to the Eagle Cam when they're going through difficult experiences in their own lives. So we have people who are sick, people who are very elderly, who can't get outdoor. So the cam is really important to them as a window on the world. It's a way that they can get outside their own lives and experience something else. We have people that just feel really compelled by the Eagles, and they just love to watch them, and it's really very important to them. To them, it's like stepping into something different and learning about something new. We do hear a lot of concerns about cold and snow, especially when they lay eggs, because sort of everybody's idea is that if an egg gets too cold, even for a little bit, the developing embryo or bird within will immediately die. And that's not the case, but it's not a fear that goes away. So people worry about that a lot. Decorah Police Department or the fire department told me they got a whole lot of calls about please getting something up in the tree to shelter the eaglets from the weather. So that was one we heard quite a bit of.
We've seen eagles covered with snow in a snowstorm when they're sitting on eggs. Most people probably wouldn't have any idea that, eggs can survive that. So quite a learning experience.
After years of providing a 24/7 web stream, Bob was ready to bait his way into the next chapter of research on Decorah's Eagles.
Actually, it began last year when we started, people would ask me, what happened to the babies from last year? Where are the babies? Where'd they go? And I couldn't answer that. I really couldn't. So working with Brett Mandernack.
Having a long association with Bob and knowing what each other had been doing for many, many years, he knew of my eagle tracking. And so we decided to team up and put a transmitter on a fledgling and start to answer that question.
Well, actually, the last couple of days have been quite interesting. We thought for sure that we'd just catch one right away within the first few minutes. So yesterday was a humbling experience. It really was. It was obvious the birds didn't like the strings and the cords, so we had to change options. And this year, today we changed things. We got rid of the strings, and we trained them to come to a closed bow net yesterday, and so we were a little bit more confident. Well, we used two different types of trapping methods. One's an old Indian method called a pandam. That's what we actually use to catch the bird. It's a ring about 30 inches in diameter, a hoop ring with large nooses on it, and then we tied the trout in the center of it, of the hoop. And so the eagle actually had to walk in through some nooses to get at the trout, and when it walked through the nooses, it immediately got caught. As soon as one of the eagles E1 came in to eat the first trout, then she just ran down, was caught in a noose immediately. It was a huge relief off my shoulder when I was able to grab that leg of that bird, because I knew once I got a hold of that leg, I knew we were home free. I knew we were going to get a transmitter on it, and so I immediately became elated. Oh. $34.
I'm going with 16.9.
Again, that one's not even necessarily full grown at this age, but
Well, this is the first eagle that I've caught and put a hood on and put a band on and put a transmitter on. Not unlike Brett. Brett has had a lot of experience over the years working with, probably 70 or 80 eagles. I think I heard him say it's a lot compared to my experience. My experience with eagles has really been putting cameras in their nest and following their behavior. And Brett has been doing a lot of satellite research data for many years.
good. Okay, now we're gonna have to put her on her belly most of the time because obviously the PTT's going on the back. So
All right. Okay. I'll just hold her for a little bit here while you get ready.
and we're pretty much ready. If you wanna, roll her over onto her back and you gotta kind of prop her up like this, Bob.
Yeah, a lot of times it's kind of best to kind of work from behind. You can grab her feet, kind of flip her up like this, and you can rest your elbows on the table.
Okay. Yep.
Hold her while you do that, or
Like this, you mean?
yeah, or whatever. We'll work around you. You go ahead and you need to be comfortable because you're going to be sitting there for a while. Okay. You're blocking out that sense of sight. What they can't see can't hurt them, and they just get much more relaxed. It's all visual, very much visual, anyhow, with bald eagles and a lot of other birds. So if you block the visual aspect of things, the bird does just calm down tremendously. Some people don't use hoods, and you can do it without hoods. We've done it without hoods, but I find it's a lot better, especially when you have a bird that may be nippy. If you put a hood on, then your fingers don't get punished quite so much.
I wonder if we should just tape her feet.
That's what we're going to do. Try to put a little cloth between them.
Really?
Yeah, just a layer between so that she doesn't clench herself.
All right. Okay.
Since we're going to be working on the back, this is why the big hands are helpful when they struggle.
Yeah.
I just kind of prop her like so. That way we can get access to the front and the back, because we're going to be running our strings across the chest eventually here too. So we're going to pull this wing out and just make sure everything is good under here. We've got all the feathers out of the way. Yeah, if we can get a couple fingers under there, that's kind of a good thing. Mm-hmm. It seems to keep the feathers from being preened up over the solar panels and keeps it charged. At least that's the theory.
Absolutely perfect. I mean, she's just sitting perfect. Just think we didn't have a hood, how bad this would be. We'd be wrestling.
That's why we don't do it without hoods. But we do have to, pull the wing out, run straps under the wings and all. So we do have to manipulate the bird a little bit. We have to. There's the Teflon ribbon harness has a cross on the chest that we have to stitch. Make smaller stitches than we practiced. Not that it makes a difference up here, but on the crisscross, where they could get a toe, a talon,
or even
in the bigger stitch, just make them a little tighter. Put a stitch in there, and then we'll glue the end with a little super glue to keep the Teflon ribbon from unraveling and give it just another little layer of adhesion. I've seen such variation in eagles. I mean, some of them will want to bite your face off as soon as you're grabbing them. Others, you just lay there and look at you. And some of them just don't struggle at all. In essence, the Teflon ribbon is a very long-lived, it's a durable material, and it will be on that bird for sometimes its whole life. I tracked one adult bald eagle for 7 years, so I know they last at least that long. You know when you're ready.
Go ahead. I'm going to set it right here. Hey. Excuse me, here comes our baby right here with the bird on it, with the transmitter on it, right there, flying. I could see the transmitter on her back with the naked eye. A huge relief. I mean, a huge relief. This was just, wow. I mean, so many people have worked so hard to get to this stage. It just took months and months and months of work, but it came about.
She was fascinating, to say the least. The first year was pretty much as expected. It left Decorah in August and went up around the point of Lake Superior in September and kind of turned around, went back into Wisconsin, hung out there. What happened after that was pretty surprising.
Well, we do know that a lot of young eagles tend to go north, and that's just a general trend. And this last summer, when she went to northern Wisconsin and northern Minnesota, nobody was surprised. But for her to set off for the Arctic and cover it in just a few days and be 1,000 miles, she's closer to the North Pole than she is Iowa right now. So I mean, that's just amazing. A lot of people are really surprised. 1,000 miles straight north up to Polar Bear Provincial Park on Hudson Bay. What a surprise. I mean, all the eagle experts are surprised. I'm surprised. Who would have guessed that a Iowa eagle would be up in the Arctic?
Decorah's native eaglet would return to Iowa only months later.
If she came back to this area to nest, she'd probably stay here then year-round. But right now, she's a wandering bird. She's young. She doesn't have a territory. She's too young to breed. She's kind of a nomad.
That fall, Bob set out to track down his nomad eaglet, still equipped with a transmitter and fresh off its return flight back from northern Canada.
9. I'm thinking, yeah, we're within, we're real close to it right now. I should switch the attenuator.
Stopping on county roads in northeast Iowa, Bob constantly triangulated the eaglet's signal until finally discovering D1 in the bare trees above a nearby cornfield.
It's an exciting day. It's always nice when you get a signal, and it makes it even better when you finally get to track down the bird and confirm that you see the transmitter on the bird's back. You know, to actually, get a signal like an hour ago when we got the first signal, I mean, I get a little bit giddy almost. And then as the signal strength increases, you just kind of, know that you're getting close. And so, it was a little bit difficult today, it really was, but we finally cracked it and got her. It's incredible, it really is. Every day, I get up and the Argos data comes in at 6 minutes after 6 in the morning, and it's like opening a Christmas present to see where D1 is and where D14 is, and it really is. It's just fascinating, and then to plug those coordinates into Google Earth or ArcGIS and just take a good look at where the environment is. So it's fun. It really is. It's great. It's exciting.
Bob Anderson's excitement was contagious. Volunteers from northeast Iowa and as far away as Massachusetts built a network of help around the Raptor Resource Project team and the Eagles of Decorah. All of it was encouraged by a lifelong Iowan, Willard Holthouse, whose land across the street from a fish hatchery became the command and control center for 24/7 Eagle broadcasts, and a point of inspiration for everyone involved.
I was pretty surprised to see an eagle trying to build a nest that close here, so it was pretty interesting for a while they were doing it, and then they had their first baby, and it was an interesting situation. Well, they explained everything what they were going to do, and I thought it was a good thing, and I thought it was a way of giving back to the community since I lived around here all my life, and I think everything is working out good on both sides, or all the sides. So
I wish I would have been a sociology grad student when we started this, because we were in it to first, for the make the documentary American Eagle, and then what we could learn, with the cameras in the nest, be able to watch them 24/7. But what we've seen from human nature, falling in love with these, I mean, they watch them for an hour and they become their eagles. They forever keep watching them, and it's worldwide. It blew me away. The town loves them. And, in a practical sense, they love what they do for the town. The people that's coming in, I mean, I tease, when I meet some of the people who travel here, including David and Ann Lynch, who are now helping out here today. David's one of the new board members. They travel from the East Coast. And when they would first come here, I would tell them, do you know how many eagle nests you drove past to get here? But the people have to come see their eagles. And when this thing blew up, all people all around town, they'll, you ask any local town member, I can't go anywhere without anybody saying, oh, Decorah, it used to be Nordic Fest.
It has been a great financial, boon to Decorah, and it's really truly put Decorah on the map. People know how to spell it and pronounce it.
I never thought that a particular pair of eagles would mean so much to me. It has even brought my husband and I closer together. It has really kind of cemented a bond that we didn't know we had, we didn't know we had, and I think it has really brought us to a point where we just want to do more for folks. But again, it has really cemented my belief in people, in humans, so to speak, when every day you look at the news and the news is full of such bad news, but boy, this is just all feel-good stuff. So to me, it just brings hope.
The bald eagle is only native to the United States, so people around the world get to see something they might not ever see in person.
You have to remember that these people that have been watching, most of them have been watching for year on year on year, so this is a tradition for them to watch these eagles each year.
There was a lady here that used to come from Hawaii, that stayed for a couple of weeks, and she went back home and UPS us a pineapple from Hawaii when she got back, so that was pretty nice of her.
We just met two wonderful ladies yesterday who were here from Illinois. One woman who was really ill over the winter, and she said, the camera really saved my life. She said, I was in bed, I had, some grave illnesses, I was not feeling well, life was looking so bleak for me, and to watch the nest on the TV and, watch on the computer rather, the eagles and the chicks, she said, it really saved my life. She said, so I had to come here and see them for myself. And we were so thankful that the adults were here yesterday and flew over and fished for her so she could see it. And this was just something she needed to do.
Their food, it's been a good buffet for them. I think that's probably a big reason why they stick around here. Well, I saw one of them carry a hind quarter of a fawn, a deer, up there with just the leg sticking out, he had the hind quarter he was going up to the nest with, They've carried a lot of different things up there.
From documentaries to the worldwide web stream of an eagle nest, Bob's work opened hearts and minds to the comeback of an American symbol. But few escape nature's wrath, including the Eagles of Decorah.
Nest collapsing is bald eagle biology. All bald eagle nests eventually collapse. They add about 200 pounds of sticks to their nest every single year. So after 10 years, that's a ton of nesting material. And in this case, it's a cottonwood tree where the limbs are known to be pretty fragile. So that nest could come down tomorrow. It could come down in 5 years. There's no way for us to call the shots on that. And that the reason why they came to that tree where they're at, their old nest collapsed. Well, I don't know if it's a danger, but it's a perpetual worry in Bob's brain. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's constantly going through my mind, what happens when the computer goes down or what happens if the nest collapses. It's really out of our control, and I have to tell myself that, but I stew about it, and I do worry about it.
Bob Anderson's concerns met reality in the summer of 2015. A microburst of high-speed wind surged through Decorah, Iowa. A massive section of cottonwood trees snapped. The nest, watched by thousands online, tumbled to the Iowa soil. The nearly decade-long experiment to showcase Decorah's eagles was seemingly over. But Bob's band of helpers hatched an experimental plan to resurrect the nest.
Immediately, several of us said, it might be a good idea to try to build a man-made nest. It has been done before by a couple other organizations. I know there's one organization in Canada that's been successful at doing this. Not only for the eagle cam, I think for the benefit of the cam, but also for the benefit of the area, keeping the eagles here. It's a great area habitat-wise for them to be in, and it's a very safe area.
It's not like it's never been done before. There is literature on doing it, and people have done it successfully. But I think people, because they're engaged in this and they're part of the story, they were really excited and interested about what would happen next. So it's not sort of a hypothetical nest that somebody built once that they've never really heard about. This is their nest and these are their eagles.
Within days of the collapse, Bob approved the plan, but then fell ill. He would die only days later, leaving his dream in doubt. His life's work and the efforts of dozens more would mark the beginning of a new chapter for the Eagles of Decorah.
One of the things Bob Anderson did before he passed away was he connected all of us as a group of people.
It went really quick. I mean, memorial, celebration of life service for Bob. The next week was planning and building N2B. I mean, we were basically hatching that plan and figuring out what the details were going to be right after that, knowing how serious that was. We've got a window of about August and September that we are able to get up into a nest and do work in it, so we knew that we had just this little time window.
Right before Bob passed away, we came up with an idea. I couldn't sleep one night. I came up with this brainstorm. Why don't we rebuild a nest in either in a tree, in the same tree, because I didn't understand that the tree completely severed off. And then I ran it by Bob, and about 5 days later he called. And this is when he was quite sick. And he said, "Oh, this is an awesome idea. We got to do it," you know. And so he was so excited. I thought, well, we got to do it. We've got to carry on Bob's dreams. And so we're here today. The original nest, which is right in these severed trees behind me, blew down in some enormous wind that came through. Oh, I don't know. It was about 2.5, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, this is the original nest N2 that came down in the storm. This is the tree. You can see the great super crotch that they chose. It was a good site. And the tree looks solid. You can look up in the trees, 3 big branches broken. So you can see the event that happened. The trees are not rotten. And you can see the size. This is still a young nest.
The process, well, it first involves finding a good crotch, a good branch configuration that's going to hold a nest. And, you know, we want to make sure that there's easy flying access for the eagles coming and going. And it happened that we found this almost perfect branch configuration, and it turned out to be quite close to the site of the old nest. Pull a climbing rope up, go up, and then build the foundation, which consisted of 4 2x4s bolted onto the tree. And then we put kind of a bag of mesh, fill that with nesting material, and just start adding sticks. Almost like making a giant Christmas wreath. One stick at a time until we got it to where it is now, and it's looking like an eagle nest. There has been artificial nests made, and eagles have occupied them. So I mean, it's not an original idea. It's the first time we've ever done it. I've done it with red-tailed hawk nests to attract owls for filming purposes and things like that. So this is the first time for me, but I think there's a darn good chance it'll work. because Bob did it, we're going to do it just kind of as a ritual, but we're going to put in a couple of dead squirrels up there. And, you know, sometimes Bob, after climbing up and installing cameras, he'd leave a treat for the eagles, either a dead squirrel, a rabbit, or maybe a fresh trout from the fish hatchery. So we're going to do that today. If Bob was here right now, he'd be jumping up and down. You know, we'd probably all be celebrating with a couple of beers afterwards. He would have been happy as hell.
And then hopefully wait to see if they came. And I think it was the last week of September that we were finishing up the camera work. We put a couple trout from the trout hatchery up into the nest, and by about half a week they turned into trout jerky. And then we saw, like early October, I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday, Mom came after the owls. We also had some great horned owls in there kind of looking over the nest to see what they thought, and eagles got in there and they pretty much claimed it. And they really started building that nest right after that. Early October, they started bringing branches in, and they built that thing up several feet and several feet in diameter.
Oh, that was such a feeling of accomplishment. I mean, it was so, I say it's a feeling of accomplishment, but it's the eagles that came back, but it was just like, this was everything that we hoped for.
The eagles began adding sticks to their nest, preparing for winter, and waiting patiently for egg-laying season. In the waning days of February, the mother eagle even had to fend off a pint-sized intruder who disturbed her slumber. But this mouse is unlikely to make the same mistake again. By mid-February, the first egg was laid. 4 days later, egg number 2 was visible. And 3 days later, egg number 3 was seen worldwide on the Decorah Eagle Nest camera. For the volunteers and members of the Raptor Resource Project, these fresh eggs in the man-made nest were a moment of relief, quickly followed by anxious anticipation. The first hatch would come 1 month later, after even more ice and snow. In late March of 2016, wildlife cinematographer and the brainchild behind the man-made nest, Neil Reddick, got a call from John Howe, the new director of Raptor Resource. The day they've been waiting for had arrived.
All right, and let's just take a look at Mom there. Beautiful shot. And they have just built this rim up around here. Everybody has just been going crazy because we can hardly see in there, you know, very rarely. Just this morning was the first views, as far as I know. Although we've been tracking the crack and the hole in the egg now for 2 days. She's hovering a little bit more. They do that once a chick or an eaglet is actually hatched. She'll kind of sit more as an umbrella cover over them and won't sit down quite as tight to the eggs as she had been. So I was figuring it would be more towards the middle of when the 3 had been laid. They're almost exactly 3 days apart for all 3 chicks. What do you think? Look at this. You're papa.
That's it right there.
Look at that. This is our first real good shot.
She might actually, look at this. I mean, here's what we were just talking about.
We'll see if there's any possibility of feeding. I'm not sure.
Incredibly powerful talons around that delicate little baby. The way she's boiling him up is awesome. Look at that. When I got the news, I actually started crying.
I know, you told me that.
Because, you know, I mean, this is like the culmination of a lot of
It is.
Dream.
For Bob.
That's awesome. I can't believe it.
Look at that.
The first hatch of the rebuilt nest was a reminder of why the online camera became such a draw, and not just from Midwestern viewers.
What magic is that to be able to see into the world of nature right at their own level and watch it every minute and wait for that egg to hatch and wait for those, those little feathers to come in, and then, are they going to get fed today? And then, oh my gosh, there's an emergency, someone's close to the edge of the nest, and it was mesmerizing. It was the best reality TV we'd ever seen because it was real.
David and Ann Lynch are a perfect example of online observers turned superfans, and then volunteers, both gravitating to Decorah, Iowa from their home state of Massachusetts.
Started watching, and soon after that I contacted Raptor Resource Project and started helping them online from Massachusetts with education and Facebook and things like that. In 2012, I made my first trip out here and became involved with the project, still building our eagle population out east. And one of the things I do with my wife is we're avid photographers. So the place to find eagles is, of course, the Mississippi Flyway. So you come to where the eagles are. Every year, my wife and I come and we spend a lot of the summer here, photographing, meeting fans, working with the project. The moments we concentrate on is them actually grabbing the fish from the hatchery and fishing. It is one of the few places on Earth where a photographer can actually sit and not move and take pictures of eagles that close while they're actually capturing their dinner.
As the eagle family continued their journey, a second egg would hatch. As the days passed into weeks, the Raptor Resource team knew the inevitable. The third egg would not hatch.
And this was the first year since these eagles have been tracked that one of the eggs did not hatch. So, we looked at that. We know the biological reasons. Either it didn't get fertilized or something happened during the development of that eaglet inside that egg that did not continue.
The only chance they might have to learn more about the third egg would come 6 months later during a September window to climb up to the eagle nest. But long before that, the Raptor Resource Project would call up an old friend to continue a banding and tracking program vital to eagle research.
Well, there are many questions to be answered yet. D1 sparked a lot of interest. The fact that she flew where she did, is this atypical? One bird, you never know. So you try to want to get more transmitters out there to see if that was an aberration or if that may be fairly typical. We also want to look at sibling dispersal. Do siblings from the same nest travel together or independently? So that was something we are striving to learn more about.
In summer 2016, both Decorah Eaglets would be fitted with transmitters. Within months, Brett discovered one of the eaglets' flight data was stationary on a rural highway. The eaglet was struck by a vehicle likely during a roadkill feeding. It's just one of the realities Brett has discovered with Decorah's eaglets. While some have explored the Midwest and Canada, others have exhibited high mortality rates from power poles.
Well, Decorah is not your typical rural setting for a bald eagle nest. Obviously, people all around, and the birds are acclimated to that and to traffic and all kinds of noise. And there are power poles everywhere. They're attractive perches. They're easy to access, and they're everywhere. Your perspective of power poles changes a little bit after you have one of your eagles get electrocuted, because you notice them everywhere around town and the whole suburban area where the nest is.
When the Raptor Resource team gathered in September, it was time to replace the nest cameras and bring in some climbing experts.
The wiring is very complex and very lengthy, as you can tell. We have hundreds of yards of wiring. That's what we're focusing on, and hopefully the climbers focus on their job and don't have any problems.
My name is Kike Arnao. I'm from Venezuela, South America.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113,
Pretty good tool, huh? This thing works great. I was climbing harpy eagles trees back in the day in the neotropics in Panama, Darien jungle, and the Amazon. Trees are smaller here. These cottonwood trees are beautiful, but they're a little fragile, which is not very nice. You know, they break. Something that we climbers don't like very much to happen when you're up in the tree. But yeah, forest is forest. You know, the forests in the neotropics are very different because of all the bugs and all the diversity of insects, you know. But I think both forests are just spectacular. Very efficient technique, but the starting point, you need a good setup of the rope. We are trying to get more than one branch to get the line across. Why is that? Because if one branch, if for any chance one branch breaks and you're hanging from the rope, then there's another branch that will stop your falling. Very end, you do again the same knot that I did.
The first one?
The first one you do it at the very end and tie it very, very strong.
I think that'll do it, Kike.
All right. You pull it, and when I tell you, you release it.
Yep.
So you try to get high, you try to get the rope close to the nest. It can be too far away because how do you get closer to the nest? It's impossible. Well, it's actually super cool. The eagles, they managed to get this spectacular view of the surroundings, you know. I guess this is very important for them to be able to see everywhere, you know, for other predators coming to attack the chicks, for example, like hornet owls, you know. Also a place where they can just dive and hunt, you know, they can move very quickly. So in general, any eagle nest that I remember has an incredible view.
Usually in the beginning, we wouldn't replace these cameras every year. We would wait probably 2 years. I think Bob was giving two to 3 years in some of the cameras, as long as they were working. I think now the technology is changing so quickly that it's worth doing this work every year. We prepare, me along with my wife Ann and John Howe, we're preparing the electronics, the cameras, getting them set, making sure they work, wiring them, getting the wire out, making the wire ready to go up into an eagle's nest.
These illuminators are 120 degrees out to the side, so you can't miss it, but if you can imagine a plane going out like this, we want it going right at the Y branch. This is an omnidirectional microphone. Don't screw it too tight or it might strip and bust. Moving the cameras and zooming in at these opportune moments, I think it just almost sends a chill down your spine, basically thinking, this is so amazing. And it's just to be involved in being able to bring that out for people to watch and enjoy, being a part of that is amazing.
It's gonna go like that. If you put it there, you will be able to see the illuminator. When it turns out, you're gonna see.
Will this be in view of the camera?
Oh, we hide it, but the illuminator has this large infrared. It's infrared. The Allen key that he gave us for the microphone.
That's actually one thing exciting about our maintenance activities that we're down here doing this week, and that is that we are actually going to look into the nest and see if that egg is still there. We got that opportunity to take a look at that.
Nobody saw the egg being kicked out of the nest, or it looked like it just got buried through the season.
So you know what is important when we get to the nest, don't stand in the middle of the nest.
Right.
So if the egg is there, we don't compress more.
The one on the right is the one that they like. That's the one that they like to fly up and come up and sit. So I think we would stay off of that branch.
Okay.
Main trunk that held the Decorah eagle nest, that fell down here, and actually the nest landed here. Actually, part of the nest, you can see some bones here. These could be squirrel, some smaller bones here. Now move this way. You know, an egg is made to be pretty stable, you know, against compression. So,
there it is.
there, oh, we see the egg.
Whoa!
It was down in there, underneath.
Wow, great news.
Great news is right.
We found the egg. One of those little pictures, right?
We will want the bag up. It looks like it's fully intact.
I think what we're actually seeing here is something very special also. There's not many times in one's life you get to hold an eagle egg in your hand and have permission to do so. Our permit is allowing us to retrieve this egg today.
Even just 6 weeks after they hatch and then they fledge, those birds are pretty big. And they come from this little egg here, so kind of cool, but it is pretty heavy. And
it's an honor.
Surprisingly to me, pretty solid.
Yeah.
You called it.
And this is the first time we've had one that did not hatch, and we don't know why, but maybe we'll find out. All right, here we go. Let's transfer.
That actually was a surprise to me because we haven't seen that before, and we did get the egg autopsied, and they found that it had never been fertilized. So I'm glad we were able to recover the egg. I wrote a blog about it after we got the report back. It was one of the more read blogs that I've done. It was over 26,000 people read it. So there was a lot of interest in why the egg didn't hatch.
For more than a decade, the Eagles of Decorah have been chronicled through film and live stream, through rain and snow, and with a team of passionate supporters from across the country. As future bald eagle research still unfolds in this picturesque corner of Iowa, the goals of the late Bob Anderson continue.
My gut right off says he'd be really proud.
I think he'd be relieved knowing that it wasn't going to end with him. I think that was his whole purpose, was to get as many people as so passionate and excited as he was to carry on what it was that he worked 30, 40 years to do.
Bob was concerned that Raptor Resource Project continue after he was gone. He always said, this can't end with me. And I think right now, I hope he's looking down, thrilled at what we're doing. And happy. I think he'd be thrilled if he was here. He'd be thrilled at the new technology we have and the amount of work I think that everyone's willing to do.
He would be very proud of everything that's going on here because John has really kept everything going and improving everything.
Everyone here in Decorah knows Bob and knew him and a lot of the work that he did. So I think, you know, the big thing there is just I think Bob would be happy with where things have gone here and the dedication to making sure that that continues. That was really one of the biggest things that I heard is, boy, everyone in the Decorah area, you know, everyone across the world who loves these eagles, we got to keep this thing going.
Funding for the Eagles of Decorah is provided by Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation, and by the Gilchrist Foundation, founded by Jocelyn Gilchrist, furthering the philanthropic interest of the Gilchrist family in wildlife and conservation, medical care, the arts and public broadcasting, and disaster relief.